And Al Gatulo on the Rob Dibble Show hotline from 970 The Answer. Also does a beer cast on Sundays at 11 o'clock. And let's just start with the news that Josh Donaldson was released. I guess this is an admission that we kind of screwed up on this whole trade thing. 25 home runs, 77 RBIs in 165 games over almost 2 years. He hit a career low 207, below 300 on base percentage at 293. Didn't play great at third base. Your thoughts on Gio Urshela and Gary Sanchez for Josh Donaldson now?
I mean, when you look at it now, it was a bad trade. I mean, Sanchez is killing it in San Diego. I thought the Mets should have kept him, and they sort of gave him that little tryout and then let him go to San Diego. But, yeah, it was a bad trade by the Yankees. I think they thought they were going to get a guy with pop in his bat, another guy on the roster to complement, the Judge and the Stantons, but it just didn't work out. And, Donaldson was injured, and the Yankees are moving on. They've made a lot of mistakes, and I agree with you, Dibbs. You said it. They're looking from an analytical standpoint, and I wish teams would get away from that because the analytics and spending the money, isn't making it happen. The Yankees, the Mets, and the Padres, I think, constitute the three biggest payrolls, aside from the Dodgers, in Major League Baseball. And where are those three teams right now? They're languishing. They stink. So you don't necessarily buy a championship, but you have to make smart moves. And the computer can give you information, but in the end, I think it's your gut that tells you what guy is good and what guy isn't.
And how are we going to get rid of Cashman? Dibbs doesn't think so. There's a lot of people that just, if you look and read this Hal Steinbrenner tea leaves, it's not looking like it's going to happen. But, man, it feels like every week there's just another, evidence where this is kind of the GM's fault.
It's almost the blame game, right? 1 week it's Cashman, another week it's Boone, another week it's somebody else. But at the end of the day, the ultimate authority here is Hal Steinbrenner. The only way Brian Cashman leaves is if Brian Cashman decides, you know what, I've had enough and I'm walking away. And I don't think he's going to. I think he wants to try and get another championship for this team, and I think he's going to stick around unless Hal decides, hey, look, I think we need to move in another direction. And there's nothing that's in Yankee land right now that indicates that Hal is going to do that. I think Aaron Boone, I think maybe on the bubble a little bit. I think it's the way they finish. If the Yankees finish with a little bit of fight in them, I think that, Hal says, all right, we'll keep them around. But I think at the end, if they just kind of stink the joint out the entire month of September, and maybe win a handful of games, I think they may show Aaron Boone the door.
Al, I mean, my thing is that Hal Steinbrenner spends so much time worrying about not being his father. He's not in control of the situation. I mean, they've been bad since the All-Star break of 2022. They were 500 last year. They're below 500 right now. They're dead last. 6-7 games behind the Red Sox in the cellar of the American League East. And it's a very good division. It's a tough division, but this is a poorly built team. The minor leagues don't seem to be bringing up superstar players like they used to. They'll never be the core like Bernie Williams, Posada, Jeter. Obviously those guys and Pettit. I mean, they're just not that organization. But I said before the Red Sox, when they got swept by the Red Sox, that Hal should have said something to the public. Not like, Cohen and Epler, but something in the way that George would have been like, listen, we're all disappointed in what happened. And then it came out last week that Cashman comes out and said this has been an awful year, however he phrased it. But again, it's too little too late. And like you said, the buck stops with Steinbrenner. People that if your grandparents or your parents grew up with Steinbrenner, they understand the apology that should be coming. This guy, I don't think his ego allows him to go out there publicly and shame himself.
No, he's one of these thinking owners where he's kind of, I'm not going to be my father and put my foot in my mouth. George would have come out much more demonstrative a couple of weeks ago. Had George still been alive and running the team, it would have been, we stink, Boone's gone, and, and where's this Cashman guy? We need to have a talk. That's probably how it would have went down. I think Brian, through Hal, kind of said the message that Hal wanted to send, and I think Hal's going to wait till the end of the season before he says anything. And the difference, I think you're right. I think Yankee fans want to see a little fire in Hal Steinbrenner's belly. He's never going to be his father, but at least step up and show, hey, I own this team, and I'm pissed that we stink. I mean, Steve Cohen put it in a gentler way for Mets fans, but it was good to see after the deadline that he came out and said what he said, Cohen, because Met fans needed to hear that at that point. With Yankee fans, I think they would appreciate Hal stepping up before the end of the season and saying something.
Mets are cooked. Yankees are cooked. The next 3 months, New York's a football town. We got the Giants Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys. We got the Jets Monday Night Football against the Bills. Week 1. What do you think, Al? Let's start with the Giants. Did they answer all your questions in the preseason? Are you ready to run with the roster that is going to be put out there against the Cowboys Week 1?
I am. I think the Giants are going to be better than people think. Do I think that they're going to run the table and win 14, 15 games? No, but I think they're going to improve and build on last year. I think everybody in that building is sold on the message from Brian Daboll. So I don't see there being an issue here. You come out and punch the Cowboys in the mouth in the first game of the season. That's a big boost for them. So, and the Cowboys, listen, let's face it, they're in a little bit of flux. There's some issues there. I still think the Eagles are above and beyond the best team in the division right now, before going into the season. But I think the Giants can make an impact week 1 by taking care of the Cowboys. And it doesn't have to be, by 10 or 15 points. They could eke it out with a field goal win. But I think that this team is much improved. I think Saquon, if they're tailoring the offense around Saquon, he is going to be running and catching with a vengeance because he wants a big money deal next year. Whether he gets it or not is a completely different set of circumstances. But they've got a little fire in their belly, and I think they want to go out there and prove to people last year was not a fluke. We're building on this.
All right, the Jets rebuilt this team, reloaded with some stars, including Aaron Rodgers. The two series that I watched him play, he's just so smooth. They're going to be much improved. But last year they won 7 games. They're in one of the toughest divisions in football. Can they get to 10 or more wins this year?
I think they can, and that's part of the reason why they went out and got Aaron Rodgers. They didn't want to sit behind a second, third-year quarterback who has not really put it all together in Wilson. So I definitely think that this team is going to be good moving forward. Again, and you said it, the AFC East is going to be a tough division. The Bills are going to be tough. The Dolphins are going to be tough. The Patriots are, New England's going to be, whatever. Bill Belichick seems to reinvent the wheel every year and keeps his team competitive enough to make things happen. So I expect the Jets on a Monday night, going to be emotional, 9/11, going to be big pomp and circumstance. It's against the Bills, a division rival. I expect these guys, Dalvin Cook practiced today for the first time. I expect this Jet team to come out, again, much like the Giants, fire in their belly, a little swagger. Their defense is relentless. You saw that Saturday night. If you watched the first set of players and first set of series, they were swarming all over the Giants. And again, I get it. It's not the first string that was in there for the Giants. But this is a Jet team that's going to continue to come at you in waves. So that's going to be their big strength. And then when you have probably one of the best quarterbacks in the league on the other side of the offense, there's no reason why the Jets can't get 11, 12 wins. If they don't, the season is a failure.
I talk a lot about this offensive line here in the last couple of months, how that is somewhat the Achilles heel when you're looking at the Jets. If they can shore that up, it feels like on paper they got everything set. Tell me more about Breece Hall and how he's getting back to form. Is he back to form? When will he be back to form? What's kind of the timetable for that sophomore running back or second-year running back for the Jets?
Well, again, I think it's going to be the Dalvin Cook sort of running game for now. I think Breece will do a pretty good job, but I think they're going to take him, as slow as they possibly can to build him up. It's not bad to have, that kind of backup behind you when you got a guy in Dalvin Cook who can, certainly run the ball. The line is going to be the problem, though. Can they protect Aaron Rodgers? Can they move the pile to create holes? Now, Dalvin can get those yards and create, his own running lanes. But you want to see an offensive line that's sort of, coalesces and helps to spring blocks and make things happen. That remains to be seen. So I expect the Jets to be more of a passing team than a running team at the start, just to see how this offensive line sort of gels a little bit. If Rodgers is on his butt the first couple of weeks, that could be a big problem.
I know one of the biggest stories going back to baseball last couple of weeks, even last week, has been whether or not they should trade Peter Alonso in the offseason. Right. Listen, you're not winning with him. I'm a big believer that you got to get something for these guys. I think the Angels made a huge mistake not trading to try to get 4 or 5 players for Shohei Ohtani. Do you sit on Alonso or do you try to move him?
If I'm the owner, I'm building my team around Pete Alonso. The guy still has a tremendous bat. He is a great defensive. You know what, I was going to say good, but it's not. He's a great defensive first baseman. He is this Mets era Keith Hernandez. And I know that sounds like a hyperbole, but it's not.
No, it's not. But I'm wondering if you believe he's the leader in that clubhouse to push this team to another level.
I think he is the leader. I think he leads by example. He's not a rah-rah guy. He's not a guy who's going to, put quotes on the back page. He leads quietly by example. I don't think he necessarily has the fire that Keith Hernandez did when he would tell guys, what to do, at their lockers and stuff. But Pete is a guy like, hey, let's get out there, let's do the job, let's win some games. Winning is contagious. You know this, Dibs. You win, 5, 6, 7 games. Things are great and things start rolling along. That's what the Mets need to do. They need to put together a string of wins instead of this losing 5 out of 6, winning 2, losing 8. You've got to put together a little bit of a winning streak here towards the end of the season. That builds confidence. But if I'm Steve Cohen, why am I trading away my most valuable asset when I can sign him to a deal? And again, money is no object. They're paying Scherzer, they're paying Verlander, they're paying all these guys money, and they're no longer on the team. You want a guy who's going to lead your team. What bothered me a couple of weeks ago about the whole Billy Epler thing is, why are you sitting here saying, well, we're not really going to compete next year, but we're going to be in position in 2 years? No. Met fans want to know, next year, why am I coming out to the ballpark? Not because they're retiring Doc Gooden and Darryl Strawberry's numbers on, 2 separate days. I want to come out because I want this team to be competitive. If you're the owner, you're giving Pete Alonso a fair offer. I'm not talking about blowing it out of the woodwork, but you're giving him a fair offer that he's probably not going to get anywhere else that has, unless it's a state like Texas with no state tax.
How do the Jets think that Hard Knocks is going for their experience here in the first couple of weeks?
I think they're okay with it, but I think, Robert Saleh said it. They didn't want to be on. There was no reason for it. The Jets are one of those teams that it's sort of the conspiracy theory thing. They really don't want cameras on them a lot of the time. And this is going back to the previous owner in Leon Hess. They very much want to keep things behind closed doors. So I think it was one of those reluctant things like, you know what, let's just do this and get it over with. Obviously, Rodgers is a big story. And the problem is now is that all of the attention from a national standpoint is turned on them. And it's going to be for the first month of the season. That's why it's critical for them to get off to a good start. You don't want to be below 500 going into the month of October. You want to be over 500 rolling into the second month of the season.
Talking to Al Gatulo from 970 The Answer, also does a craft beer cast on Sunday nights at 11 p.m. So Thursday night is opening night, UConn versus NC State. Going to be tailgating, but got to work on Friday. So we don't want to be too hungover.
Great question.
What kind of beer and stuff will mix well with tailgating, cheering on the team, and then being able to go to work on Friday?
Great question.
All right, so it's the weather's going to be decent. So what I would do is I wouldn't even go with beer. What I would do is Dogfish Head makes these canned cocktails that are fantastic.
Good call.
And they're only 7%. So they have like a rum and pineapple. They have a vodka and and soda and whatever. They're delicious. They're perfect. They're not these girly drinks. There's low carbonation in them, so you don't feel bloated. You can sit and tailgate and have a couple at 7% ABV, and you're good to go on Friday morning. Or what you could do is just start the Labor Day weekend early and take Friday off.
There you go. That's the advice right there.
There you go.
That's the advice right there.
Listen, 2 things. What I did, I'm going to 2 concerts over the weekend. I'm going to see Foreigner and Loverboy on Sunday.
Oh, yeah!
2 of my favorites. Loverboy, that guy's still alive?
No.
Which one?
The lead singer for Loverboy.
Yes, and
Okay.
he doesn't look good because I saw some video of him.
Oh, you know who looks bad? Casey from the Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Oh, man, don't hurt on
Yes.
Casey.
He does. No, he does.
He does.
But
He's
the
like
lead singer
350.
from
Get down
Loverboy,
tonight.
He's easily like 5'8" and like on the wrong side of 215. You know what I mean?
I love that dude.
I don't think he's got the voice anymore.
Still got the bandana though, right?
Of course.
No, still got the bandana, but everybody's working for the weekend. He wants everybody to sing that. No, dude, that's your line. You need to sing that. You can't have the crowd doing that. But on the Monday night on Labor Day, I'm going to see James Taylor as well.
Oh, man. Look at you.
What I did was smart. I said, you know what? I'm extending my holiday. I'm taking Tuesday off. That's
nice.
So I did the 4-day weekend in the reverse. I did it going into next week. So,
Do you ever think you'd be a professional drinker?
No, that was not the role. That was not the job I envisioned. No. If I had said that to my mother, I think she would have beaten me from one end of the house to the other. Mom, I'm going to be a professional drinker. Oh yeah, I'll show you a professional drinker.
She probably loves the craft beer cash. She's probably she would have been the biggest listener.
No, you know what? When she was alive and she had heard some of the show, she was like, I don't like that you do the show about drinking. And then she heard my other stuff when I worked with Joe Piscopo, and she goes, you're not that bad at that. Thanks a lot. I only went to school for it, but thanks, Mom. I appreciate that.
That's awesome. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Hey, how do I get one of those bobblehead dolls?
We got for you. I just got extras today. We'll ship some to you. I'll sign them for you. I'll send Joe one.
Nice. Beautiful.
All right, my brother. Thank you, Al.
Thanks, Al.
Guys, have a great week and have a great Labor Day.
You too. Be well, my friend.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
Al Gatulo, 970 The Answer. Check out his craft beer cat. He's the best.